What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 33 of Breaking Bats, presented to you by Not For Long Media. I'm your host, Brian O'Grady. With me, my co-host, Justin Ayers. JA, what's going on over there, dude? How you doing?
Doing good, man. It's a lot of stuff going on in baseball right now. It's a lot of records being broken, a lot of records on the verge of being broken. We're trying to figure out our playoff bracket seeding here for the playoffs. And we're trying to make it through college football Saturdays and NFL Sundays. So it's a lot going on, but we're getting close to that sweet playoff time. And playoff baseball, there's nothing better. So I'm ready, jacked up. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on. Still waiting on Judge to hit 61.
Yeah, we're still on Judge watch.
But, I got to imagine that's pretty tough. A lot of pressure there. They're cutting in from college football games to put his at bats on, which is, I don't think is a great idea. But when that's happening, obviously something special is going on. So, guy's probably just dying to hit his last homer there. So, but other than that, a lot going on. Playoff time's coming. A lot of excitement. Can't wait to talk about some of it.
Yeah, it's funny that even on a baseball podcast with two seam heads such as ourselves, we're still like, do you really have to cut in on college football to watch Judge strike out? Do you really?
People were mad about that on Twitter, dude. They were really mad.
Rightfully so. Trying to figure out my bets are all losing. I got to see Aaron Judge strike out. It was just a calamity, dude. So, we're still sitting on 60 right now. And then we get the debates on Twitter about whether or not that's the real home run crown. About it's the legitimate heir to whatever with the steroid people. So, it's a fun place on Twitter right now. But
that could be a topic for maybe next week, right there. That's a good one. But for
whether
this week,
legitimate.
Yeah, that's a long conversation, I feel like, though.
You can have that, yeah. Write that down.
Yep. But who's this episode brought to us by?
So this episode of Breaking Bats is brought to you by our friends at Som Sleep. Are you having trouble getting enough sleep at night? Som Sleep has you covered. The scientifically advanced Som snack includes ingredients that are naturally found in your body like GABA, magnesium, and melatonin. Sleep is the best form of recovery, and it has helped people everywhere take their game to the next level. It's simple. All you have to do is drink one serving just 30 minutes before bed, and your body will naturally calm itself down. Other sleep supplements leave you feeling groggy in the morning, but not Som Sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to conquer the day. Go to getsom.com, click shop, and enter the code BATS, B-A-T-S, at checkout for 10% off your entire order of Som Sleep. So kind of the theme for today is kind of the underdog, kind of the plucky underdog, the unsung teams this season, the under-the-radar moves and the under-the-radar players and teams. I wanted to give a little love since last week we gave some love to the Houston Astros. I would like to take a minute and just give some love to your AL Central Division champion Cleveland Guardians. I mean, congrats are in order. They had a 7-game win streak. They clinched the Central as of Monday. They're 86-67. What a ride. What a season it's been for the Cleveland Guardians in their inaugural season with their new name. It's just crazy. I have a couple things I wanted to break down about them, and then I wanted to get your take. Here's what the Guardians don't have. They're not flashy. They had an opening day loss to Kansas City, and Fangraphs projected them 77 wins and a 6.4% chance of winning the AL Central. I mean, you got to think the White Sox are probably the heavy favorites. I had them go to the World Series this year. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of falling in line with us there, where it was like, got the White Sox, the Twins just got Correa. I thought the Kansas City Royals wouldn't be as bad as they are. So I think everybody just kind of forgot that Cleveland was even like going to be a thing. They also don't have experience. This is the youngest team in all of baseball. They have an average age of their hitters of 25.9, and the pitcher's average age is 26.3. I think I saw a stat that's even the youngest for a AAA team. They're just the youngest. It's just the baby bombers there in Cleveland. And they also don't have a big payroll. They have a $67.4 million payroll this year. That's the 28th in baseball. I mean, teams just like Max Scherzer has 43, and then the Guardians have 67. So they don't spend money, but here's what the Cleveland Guardians do have. They have one of the best managers in all baseball in Terry Francona, a legitimate superstar in Jose Ramirez, who has 28 homers and 117 ribs, the 6th best team ERA, and the best closer in baseball in Emmanuel Clase. So like I said, beginning of the year, everybody just kind of, I think, just forgot about the Guardians. I don't think it's that they were written off. I just think that most people were like, wait, who? Wait, what? Uh, last year they went 80 and 82. Brian, I think at our prediction show, we didn't really talk too much about Cleveland, as probably most people didn't. But I mean, you got to like what's going on over there this year, though, right?
Yeah, they've had it's an amazing season. Congrats to them on winning the Central. Definitely didn't see that coming at the beginning of the year. The White Sox obviously did not live up to expectations. And one thing that was great, did you see the Guardians? They tweeted the Fresh Prince, the White Sox at the beginning of the year tweeted the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Will Smith standing in an empty room and saying, I wonder if the rest of the division's even going to show up this year. And then the Guardians tweeted back after they clinched, which was awesome. But you said all that stuff. They I think people knew about some of their pitchers, Bieber and that some of that crew there. Class A has been throwing 101 mile an hour cutters. It's not really fair. But the hitters, man, a bunch of young guys have played really well. A bunch of rookies or people that players that people don't really know about have played really well, and we'll touch. I definitely have one of those guys in there. But when I was looking at the numbers, man, they have a lot of guys who are playing. I bet Rosario's having a good year. Shortstop Stephen Kwan has been arguably the rookie of the year. Probably won't get it, but playing like Gold Glove level defense in left field and tons of contact, like you said, high average. And they have more guys. Oscar Gonzalez is one of the guys that I'll mention later, but he's playing really well and he's young, man. I remember talking about before we start recording, talking about the Dominican Winter League. He was with Australia's when I was down there, and he was like 18, 19. And remember him showing up. I don't know if he ever even played that year for us, but him being in practice, I'm like, this dude, he's big boy. And I'm like, this guy looks like he's going to be pretty good. And here he is now, man. He's having a really good year. But no, you're right. The Guardians have been good for a while. They've been doing it kind of under the radar, and they just win. They kind of remind me of like the Rays, where it's they're just winning games. Every time you look, they're just winning games. But this team, I think what makes this Guardians team more unique is definitely the fact that they are so young, like you said. That's honestly very, very impressive. And they really only have Jose Ramirez, who's a fantastic player. Other than that, if household names or anything like that, I don't think, and Bieber, but I don't think they have, especially on the hitting side, anybody that everyone knows. So hats off to them. That's awesome. What a season it's been so far for those kids mostly.
Do you worry though about the lack of experience? Because I'm looking at the roster right now. I think the oldest player they have is their reliever Brian Shaw, who's 34, and he was there back when they went to the World Series in 16. And he's got a 5.5 ERA this year, so he's nothing to write home about. But do you worry about teams in the playoffs like this? Or maybe it's a little bit like, to use a football analogy, like the Bengals last year. Like they didn't know what they didn't know. Just a really like great group of young, talented guys that come together and just peak and get hot at the right time. Like, do you worry about them not having a guy that can like be a locker room, say like, hey, this is how you win in the playoffs? Do you worry about that?
Not so much because Francona has been there and done that, I would say. So his message obviously has been working all season. So whatever he's saying, and with Ramirez and whatever other guys they do have, I think they're fine. I will. This is not nice. I'm not going to pick them in the playoffs because I think the Astros are just great, and then the Yankees. I would probably take the Yankees over them too. So I don't know how much noise they're going to make in the playoffs, but you said this before we started recording. They do have that kind of recipe that can scare people in the playoffs. They make contact, they play defense, and they have pitching. So yes, that can definitely be a recipe for winning. as it has been all season, but winning in the playoffs. But if head to head with the Yankees or the Astros, I'm taking those two teams.
I'm looking at this postseason bracket right now. The Guardians have the 3 seed, so that first round they'd be playing the Mariners if the postseason started today. That's a fun series, but
That is a fun series.
This team does give me vibes to like those mid 2010s Royals teams. I just pulled up the 2014 Royals when they made it to the World Series and had that fantastic postseason. They had 3 guys with double-digit homers and a lot of contact. And you mentioned that's because of Kauffman Stadium is gigantic and the dimensions are crazy. But they were led that season by a great bullpen with like Greg Holland. They had frontline starting pitching all throughout. So why not? I remember when the Orioles went to the 2014 postseason with a team built on home runs, and it was like, oh, it was cool that they got past the Tigers pretty easily, but then they got to the Royals, who did the exact opposite and were contact and stealing bases and running around and doing everything they didn't do. And it's like, dang, you could just tell that the Royals were just gonna plow through everybody. So, yeah, I think when we're going up against a team that has all contact, all pitching, all defense, and steals bases too. Like they have 5 guys with double-digit steals. I mean, this whole team can run. So, yeah, I mean, I probably won't pick them in my bracket either, but that's not to say we can't give them some love for winning the AL Central, which is something that nobody on earth thought that they were going to do. So yeah, let's just not forget about Cleveland Guardians this postseason, because who knows, we could all be sitting here 2 weeks from now and have them go on a Royals run and make us all look like idiots.
Yeah, they have a chance for sure. I would say that the best years are ahead of them. You would think, with all these young guys and how they've performed basically their first years, or so early in their careers. So I still that series would be a lot of fun. Mariners Guardians is a lot of fun. So I'd be looking forward to that. I would love to see them make a run. I hope it happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that would be fun if they matched up with their old foe, the New York Yankees, in that second round too. Like, dang, that would be a fun second round series. So, shout out the Cleveland Guardians. Congrats to all the success you've had this season. Just a nasty back of the bullpen contact out the ass. So, yeah, it's been very, very fun to watch. So we want to give a little love to them. Next up, we have our Fudge-ing Awesome Moment of the Week.
Fudge-ing Awesome Moment of the Week is brought to you by our sponsor, the original Fudge Kitchen. You can find them online at Fudge Kitchens with an S.com. They ship sweet treats and fudge all over the country. I could be home pretty soon, and I will definitely be ordering some from them. I can't wait. But as the summer winds down, our Jersey Shore Philly listeners, if you are still down the shore, they have locations in Cape May, North Wildwood, Ocean City, and Stone Harbor. Go in there and check them out. It is phenomenal. That is the original Fudge Kitchen. And if you're listening from anywhere else, they ship all over the country. You can find them at Fudge Kitchens with an S.com.
Our Fudging Awesome Moment of the Week this week has to do with Albert Pujols. Friday night in a game versus the Dodgers and Cardinals, on a game that was televised on Apple TV Plus, which never will not be hilarious. The thing that people bemoan on Twitter and complain about because A, they don't have Apple TV Plus, or the broadcast crew is debatable. Albert Pujols hit home run number 699 off of Andrew Heaney. And then a few short innings later, he hit number 700 off of Phil Bickford. He became obviously the 4th player ever to hit 700 home runs, Bonds, Aaron, Babe Ruth. But the real awesome part, and this is the person that I wanted to give a shout out to, is recurring guest of this podcast, friend of the show. It is MLB Network's own Greg Amsinger. You could see his baseball card, sits on my little ledge here behind me every show. On April 13th on MLB Network, Greg Amsinger said, quote, Albert is going to hit his 700th career home run on the road Friday night in Los Angeles in September. And what did Albert Pujols do? He hit his 700th career home run on the road Friday night in Los Angeles in September. So it's insane. Greg is also famous for his prediction of Buster Posey's walk-off back in 2014 that went, I think, kind of viral. So yes, just this guy is a psychic. I would like to take a gambling trip with Greg. Maybe we can go figure out what bets to put on, because I feel like this guy, he's He's like, it's like Back to the Future when Biff stole like the book with all the bets in it. That's what I feel like Greg would be like if he ever went gambling. So that's our moment. But also, add a little wrinkle to this is the fan who caught ball number 700. He's not going to give it back. He got it authenticated in the stadium, and then he just went home with it. So Pujols was like, I don't have a problem with it. If they want to keep it, if they want to give it back, that's great. But at the end of the day, I don't focus on material stuff. That sounds like a man who wants his ball back. But anywho, I mean, the Greg prediction, the 700 home runs, just what a weekend for Albert Pujols there.
Greg, that is ridiculous. I mean, that is just insane. I can't. When I saw that, I really couldn't believe it. That is just perfect, unreal. Good for you, Greg. That's phenomenal. Pujols, 700 homers, amazing. We might never see that in our lifetime again. What a hitter he's been for so long. What a year he's having, man. I'm glad that he did it, and the scenario didn't happen where he finished with 699 or something. Then the season was over. He's been one of my favorite hitters my entire life. So really cool to see. Our little preview here. Our guest this week, Josh Fleming, told a good story about how Pujols was his hero and getting a picture with him and all the things like that. So you hear that later. But so cool. The guy who caught it, I can't blame. That ball's worth a lot of money, and I can't blame him for getting out of there, acting like he's going to keep it and putting that thing up on auction in 2 weeks. You have to want there's no way Albert doesn't want 700. He wants that ball. He has to. There's 3 other people who get to have that ball. 700. That's one. You don't need all your homers or whatever, but that's one that you definitely want. So I don't know. I hope Albert gets it, but I don't blame the guy for possibly getting some like life-changing money for him too. Especially after everybody was ripping on the college kids who gave Judge his 60th homer back for like some bats and balls, and when the value was, I don't even know, it was like $100,000, whatever. So I don't know, but no matter what, man, so cool to see. Pujols, just a incredible year, back with the Cardinals too. Like, what a story it's just been all season. So happy for him, happy for baseball. And yeah, Apple TV, that's just I can't believe that. Whatever. It was all that matters is that he hit it. So good for him. Good for you, Albert.
Doesn't matter that probably a lot of people didn't get to see it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Obviously, Pujols, I think the thing with him this year is that nobody thought he was going to play in 103 games, which is what he's done this year to hit 21 homers. He's been their offense here lately in St. Louis. So this isn't the end of the road for Albert Pujols. They're going to need him to continue to hit in the playoffs if they want to continue to have success this season. So he's a big component of what they have cooking offensively. But yeah, did you see that the 699 home run was like there's like a dog pile in the bleachers in Dodger Stadium? The guy who got 700, it was a little cleaner caught, so it wasn't like nobody was on the ground trying to pick it up. I think he got it in his mitt. But yeah, I don't think I'd want any part of that. I don't want to get into a dog pile and have people ripping at my arms and limbs and stuff just to get a ball out from me. I'll pass.
I agree. It's insanity when that goes. I mean, you saw Judges was like that too. It's not a place I'd want to be, but if you come out with 700, man, that's or 60. But yeah, I'm not fighting people over that baseball.
Put that thing on eBay. Any Albert Pujols interactions? Did you ever get on first base with him?
Only in spring training. Yeah, with last year when he was still at the Angels, and just talked to him. Like, no, he said, hey, my first, this was all, Ohtani was pitching too. So I let off the game and hit a triple down the first base line, probably partly because Albert was playing first, and
Defense
my
is a little bad.
my second at bat, I smoked the line drive into right field, and I got on first, and he was like, "Hey man, nice swing, good swing, whatever." And just talking, but it was I was playing it cool then, but he's one of the few guys where I've been like, "Holy shit, that's Albert Pujols," like starstruck when I'm out there. I do remember, I think it was like 2018. We went to play at the Angels Stadium, or no, it might have been like my first spring training, and I was like going to the major league game to back up and play at the end or whatever, and they were hitting on the field at Angel Stadium, and I couldn't like really wasn't really like looking who was hitting. I'm like, damn, like he was just hitting missile line drives. I'm like, damn, dude smoking ball. And I got closer, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Albert Pujols. And I'll never forget that. But he's definitely one of the few who make me starstruck when I would see him out there.
All right, and last but not least for everybody this week, we have our top 5. To clean up last week's top 5, Brian pulled out the victory in the NFL offense poll. Brian won 58-42, so be sure to head over to Breaking Bats Pod on Instagram every single Friday to vote in our Instagram story poll, which it'll determine our happiness for the next several minutes. So please vote every Friday, Breaking Bats Pod on Instagram. This week's top 5, in honor of the under-the-radar season that the Cleveland Guardians have had, and also some of the under-the-radar great players that they've had on their roster this season, we will be taking a look at the top 5 most under-the-radar great seasons this year. So I will start us off with number 5. It's Tyler Anderson of the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a guy whose story it's fascinating. He's bounced around a little bit before this year. He signed a 1-year, $8 million deal, started the year in the Dodgers bullpen. Since then, he's tied for 7th in the league in wins with 15, and he's got he's 10th in the majors in ERA at 2.52. All-star Tyler Anderson. Number 4, Andres Gimenez of the Cleveland Guardians. This is a guy who came to Cleveland in the Lindor trade from the New York Mets, and this year he's 6th in all of baseball in WAR, 6.9. Nice. 11th in on base with 375, 17 homers, a 303 average, Gold Glove defense, and all-star this season. Shout out Andres Gimenez. Number 3, it's going to be guest of this podcast, Nathaniel Lowe. He's 8th in the major leagues this season in hits with 170. So shout out Nathaniel Lowe, a 304 average. All this man does is hit. Number 2, very under the radar, it's Kyle Wright of the Atlanta Braves. He is the first 20-game winner in baseball this season. It's also his first full season pitching in the majors. He's 20-5 with a 3.18 ERA. Last but not least, my number 1 pick is Emmanuel Clase of the Cleveland Guardians. He leads the league in saves with 39, a 1.46 ERA, throws hard as hell, and he also leads the league in games pitched. So 72 games, he's durable. You can bet that during the playoffs this season, if it's the 8th inning and they need to get some outs, this guy's coming in. He's going to do a 6-out save if he has to. So that is my top 5. What did you think? And then we'll get to yours.
Yeah, those are some great names right there. There's definitely guys who popped in my head too. Nate, obviously, my favorite in that group. Well, so happy for him. What a season he's having. But they're all really good players and having a great year. I've played against most of those guys. Kyle Wright, played against him a ton in AAA. Good to see him having some success this year in the major leagues with all those wins. But my top 5, we're going to start, and I don't really have them in a particular order, but first guy that came to mind is Padres shortstop, Ha-Seong Kim. He's having a phenomenal year, obviously filling in for Fernando Tatis Jr., which is big shoes to fill. But Kimmy is hitting 252 with 10 homers, playing Gold Glove defense at shortstop, and it's good for a 4.9 WAR right now. So he's really been an unsung hero for that Padres team, filling in there. Oscar Gonzalez from the Guardians, who I mentioned earlier, is my second one. He's hitting 289 with 11 homers this year. WAR's at 1.8, but he hit pretty well in AAA. I think he kind of came out of nowhere a little bit there to come up and then produce this season. So good for him. He's number 2. Number 3, we're going to Tampa for 2 pitchers. Jeffrey Springs, man. I faced him a long time ago. He has made some Tampa Bay Rays adjustments or whatever it is. He's got 9-4 with a 2.56 this year. Good for 3.1 WAR. That's incredible. That's a great year. Good for him. Rays do it again. And then staying with the Rays, number 4 is Jason Adam, who's basically been their one of the back end guys, I guess. He was closing. I don't know, Pete, whatever. But he's got a 1.47 this year. I believe he was an all-star too. 1.47, pretty good story there. Good for 2.6 WAR this year, but really good. And then number 5, super under the radar because he plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but Christian Walker. He's got a 5 WAR this year. He's hitting 237, but he's got 36 homers. He's also from right around me. I played against him in high school. Great dude. But, man, that's a good season right there. I know 237, people might think that's a little low, but I believe I read before that he, by the numbers, is the best defensive first baseman in the major leagues as well. So 5 WAR for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and man, good for him. A lot of people probably don't know about that.
Orioles legend Christian Walker. People forget that.
Orioles legend, yes.
Yes. That's a
and
great
South
list.
Carolina legend.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
He went there and won 2 national championships in 3 years. So good for him.
South Carolina's got a pretty good baseball program. They have
He was like the start of it. That was when they kind of got. I mean, they were a good program before that, but that was when they kind of took over for a while there.
You know, if we get him on the podcast, that would be the 3rd South Carolina baseball guy. Will Crow, Ryan Ripken, and then hopefully at some point, Christian Walker. Yeah. Shout out Gamecocks.
Yeah. There you go.
That's a great list. I had an honorable mention. It's Joey Meneses of the Washington Nationals. If you just look at his numbers side by side compared to Juan Soto's numbers in San Diego, it's very laughable. Meneses has 12 home runs, 29 RBIs, and he's batting .326. And if you look at Juan Soto's time in San Diego this year, Padres fans, cover your ears. 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, and he's batting .242 in the exact same time frame. So we didn't need Soto. We just needed to call Joey Meneses up. I mean, a 30-year-old rookie who just hits dingers? Absolutely. So he played in the minors for like 12 years before, or he played professional baseball for like 12 years before he got called up. So you always love to hear those stories of guys that just, stuck with it, because I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities for Joey Meneses to, stop playing baseball, but he stuck with it. And now he's, killing it for the Washington Nationals. So honorable mention.
Yeah. A lot of people, San Diego, think they're the people they trade for are cursed. So
yeah,
Soto, that's a crazy stat, but he's gonna come on. They're gonna be 5. Can't wait to see them in the playoffs.
I almost have Brandon Drury in here, but in San Diego this year he's batting .226, so that kind of tainted his.
Yeah, he's an all-star too, right? So
yeah, for Cincy.
Yeah, so but. Great list right there. Good for all those guys.
Actually, he was not an all-star this year. Correction.
Oh, sorry. Snub. He should have been an all-star.
Snub.
Snub. Big snub.
All-star in our minds.
Yes. For our interview this week, we had Rays pitcher Josh Fleming on the podcast. Me and Josh go back to my time with the Rays. Great dude. Got some good stuff. Numbers aren't as good as he would like in the major leagues this year. He's been dominant in AAA, but his story is really cool. He was Division III, basically out of nowhere, to turn into a 5th round pick and a major leaguer. So Josh, a great guy, funny, good stories, and it's definitely a good interview to listen to. I know you enjoyed it too.
What a delight. Yeah, as a D3 guy myself, it was crazy just hearing about going from being a super skinny guy and that nobody like paid any attention to in terms of baseball, and then a few short years later, it's like, oh my god, like I'm killing it. I got people here to watch me. He's getting drafted by the Rays. I think he's the highest D3 drafted player ever. I could be wrong. Don't fact check that. 5th round. So that's insane. But yeah, just a delight to talk to. We did an hour. We could have done 10. So it was very cool.
What was the name? What's the name of the mascot?
The Gorlock.
His college, the mascot is a Gorlock. It's made up.
The Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. They're the Gorlocks. So
yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was awesome to talk to him. Hopefully he'll be back up there and pitching well soon. But
we wanted to give a shout out to friend of the podcast, Actions Over Words. They're an apparel brand with the mission of encouraging people to use their actions instead of their words. Founded in Cape May, New Jersey by Alec Levin, who's a great dude. Actions Over Word donates $5 of each sale to different charities around the world. So check them out at actionsoverwordsapparel.com and use the code N4L for 10% off your entire order of tees, hats, hoodies, a lot of great stuff. So definitely check our friends out over at Actions Over Words.
We'll send it over to our interview with Rays pitcher Josh Fleming. And joining us today on Breaking Bats is Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Josh Fleming. Josh, we were just talking about it. It's really good to see your face. Haven't seen it in a little bit because typically I'm talking to you through an Xbox headset about people in Call of Duty.
Yep.
So it's good to see you, dude. How you doing? How's everything going?
Dude, again, first off, thanks for letting me join you. I know I bugged you about it, but everything's going good, man. Couldn't really complain right now. I'm just enjoying playing and just living a good life right now.
Yeah, man. It's been so Josh, I told Josh back in the beginning when we started the podcast that I was gonna have him on there for sure. And I didn't hold up my end of the bargain for whatever reason there for a little while. So the other day, thankfully, Josh yelled at me via message.
Sure did.
Asked when he was coming on, and I was like, "Well, good thing you asked because right now, let's do it."
Yeah, I mean, so, I was hoping you're gonna get some of my like little hints every time you posted you hitting a home run. I would just be like, wall scraper, all this. I'm just like, man, I wonder if he's ever gonna ask me to get on.
Begging him.
My God, that's great. Yeah, I don't know, man. We've made the rounds, and I don't know. But I'm glad you're on here now.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Because you have a great story. You're a great pitcher. I've learned firsthand. I remember vividly you breaking one of my bats for sure.
Yep. Sure did.
But I do have a video on my phone that I like to look at every once in a while just to smile of me hitting an absolute nuke off you though. So I do have.
You did. Hey, I got mine. You got yours. It comes full circle, you know. It comes full circle.
I was telling JA about that video because it's cracking me up. Not the homer, but sitting in the stands watching you pitch is Dewey, right?
Yeah.
The pitching coordinator.
Yep.
I hit it and he goes like the face he makes. He goes like hands on the head. It's just hilarious. Man. Like his reaction is just cracking me up. But
did I throw you a cutter? Is that what I threw you?
That was a cutter.
He was probably wondering why I just stick to the two seam sinkers in on you. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't either.
I mean, we'll get there. That was the the heat was getting to everybody. The 2020 Rays alternate site is legendary on this podcast. We talked to a lot of guys about the site there, and that was another one of that. But one of the really cool parts about your story is that you went to college, Division III college, and not a lot of guys go from that level to the major league. So JA, let's get it started.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading all about that because you're right. I'm a D3 guy myself too. So when I read that, I was like,
yes, let's go.
Salisbury University, shout out.
Okay, let's go. Hey, they're solid. They are good.
Now they are, and they were always good at lacrosse, and then they just recently became good at baseball, which is good. So yeah, it's a fascinating career like path that you took to get to where you are. But coming out of high school, I was reading that were you a little undersized, and that was kind of the reason why D3 was the only place that kind of believed in you at that time.
Yeah, so I mean, I played for like a pretty big time like recruiting summer team my junior year. Um, but I was never I hadn't grown yet. And I was like probably 5'8", 130 pounds, 140 pounds, like soaking wet. Like I was just this scrawny little kid, um, topped out at maybe like 78, 79 on a good day. Um, so yeah, just like recruiting was not really it wasn't big for me. And I was very fortunate that at one of the showcases that I went to, Webster University, there was a the assistant coach, Zach Getz, he's not there anymore, but he had reached out to me, wanted me to come on for a visit and everything. And, I did my research on them, and they were a pretty solid program at the time. So I was like, you know what, this is my only opportunity. I might as well just go have fun and enjoy college and play baseball.
The fact that that was like, you took the D3 route, and then, did that inspire you to be the best athlete, the best D3 athlete you could be? Because it's like, all right, nobody else believed in me. I'm here. I'm just going to kick ass.
I mean, kind of, yeah. At first, honestly, though, like I had no envisions of pro ball even being a thing, going into my freshman year. Kind of like I said, I just wanted to go there, have fun. I really wanted to be a teacher. That was kind of my plan, was to be a special education teacher and coach, on the side whenever I graduated. But yeah, so I came in my first outing. I remember, it was the first weekend. It was probably 40 degrees out. We're playing Emory University. We're in Memphis, Tennessee, though. We were playing a number of teams that weekend, and came out of the bullpen. We had a senior starter that didn't really do well, and we were down. And so I came in just I was in my head probably just to clean up innings and get through the game. First inning, I hit 90, and I didn't even realize I was throwing hard. Like, honestly, I'd known like previously in the fall and even in the winter coming up, I was up to like 83, 84, which was huge for me at the time. And then all of a sudden I was throwing 90 miles an hour, and I was dumbfounded when I found out the next day that I hit 90 a number of times. And that was when my coach, Bill Courage, he's the head coach there still. He kind of sat me down and was like, hey, like, I don't tell this to anyone. Like, you're the first person. You can do this after, like, you have a chance to play pro ball. But you're going to need to work hard, and you're going to need to put on some weight and all this stuff. And so that first game kind of kickstarted it for me.
As a St. Louis guy, did you like being so close to home?
I did, actually. Yeah. And maybe I kind of took my freshman year for granted. I went home a lot, my freshman year, instead of actually doing what I said I was going to do and just enjoy college and, live it up. I went home a number of times. So I kind of took it for granted, but I like living close to home. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I had tons of friends around still. And obviously my parents going home to a nice home cooked meal instead of going to the university's little mess hall, whatever they had ready for you. You couldn't beat it. So.
Love that. Yeah. I mean, Brian, I mean, you decided to stay close to home when you went to college too. So, I mean, that's, a little parallels
Yeah,
there.
it's yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I was an hour and 10 minutes from home, and that was one of the better decisions I ever made. But I was laughing because like Josh isn't a small dude anymore.
Not
So
anymore.
like the thought of him being like, I didn't know that. Like, it's funny to picture him being like this scrawny little high school kid going to college, and and how I know him now. But and then picturing you, and my first thought when you said teacher, I thought you meant like high school teacher teaching like history or something. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I could not picture that. But the path that you described would have been much cooler than
Yes,
what I was picturing in my head. So
absolutely.
D3
Yeah, no
athletics
shot. No shot I'm showing up with a tie every day. I couldn't do that.
Mr. Fleming's class sounds like it'd be a good time though.
Hey, I'd make it the most fun. That's for sure.
But D3 athletics though, it's something that I feel like not a lot of people know a ton about. I remember we did an interview with this guy Brandon Zylstra. He used to play for the Panthers, and he went to a D3. And he said that on his track and field team, that the college made the students pay for their own like uniforms, and it was just like this really gritty. Like nobody had a ton of money. Like, did you ever encounter anything like that at your D3? Like, what were the not so glamorous parts about D3 college athletics?
Yeah, so I mean, we were given a practice shirt, shorts, hat, pants, jerseys. We were given those things, but then when it came to other gear, sweatshirts, stuff like that, I mean, we had to buy them ourselves. We had a team store that we had to buy. We had a glove deal with Rawlings, but those were always, we had fundraisers every year. So it was like we were raising the money to buy the gloves. We didn't actually just get given them. We did a ton of fundraisers. Now they're doing like golf outings, which I wish we would have done back then. But we did trivia nights. We did a thing called the 100-inning game where we split into 4 teams and we would play 100 innings of baseball it would last from 12 in the afternoon to 12 at night. Like it's just nonstop playing baseball. And that was what we did to raise money. And it was like, we give a little form to people and they'd be like, oh, we'll donate $1 an inning or something. And that was how we were able to make our money to buy our equipment, like bats, gloves, sweatshirt, you name it. That was how we had to get our own stuff. So, yeah.
That's incredible.
That's insane.
Yep.
What?
Yeah. It
What,
was,
so
it wasn't bad. Like I enjoyed the 100-inning game because I actually got to bat. Like it was off a pitching machine. So it wasn't like pitchers weren't throwing the whole time.
Oh, okay.
It's off a pitching machine. And so like pitchers got to hit and everything. So that was like, I enjoyed the 100-inning game because I actually got to hit and I played shortstop, third base, you name it. I was playing everywhere.
That's funny. That's a long time. Good for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Brian, what was the D1 baseball experience like compared to what he was talking about?
Yeah, I didn't pay for anything.
Must have been nice.
I mean, I paid. There's not too many full scholarships in Division I baseball though, so I was paying for school, which I'm sure Josh was too. But in terms of the equipment and things like that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I paid for. And since I played multiple positions, they gave me multiple gloves too, so I had that going for me. But
yep,
I'm just Josh was more of a grinder in college than I was. I'll give him that.
And
I
Brian,
believe it.
We put this video up of. I found a picture of you at Rutgers. You had this cool camo arm sleeve, so you just swagged out the entire time. You had a shooting sleeve on.
Yeah, you got everything, man.
That was good old Rutgers. That feels like it was a lifetime ago. But they're Big Ten. They're big time now, man. They're Adidas, huge Adidas team now. We had some rough jerseys to start my college career. I will say, if it makes you feel any better, my freshman year, our workout stuff for like the gym was the worst pair of shorts from like 1982 you could ever imagine. And the shirt was like it was made out of like wool. It was fucking like 8 pounds. It was just gray.
Sweating in that thing had to have been miserable.
I don't even know what brand it was. It wasn't like, Nike or like anything like that. It was just like the heaviest, dumpiest shirt you could ever
Had to have been like an old like starter brand.
Yep.
Dude, my coach, rest his soul, great man, but he wore the same starter jacket from, he was in his 70s when I was there. So I'm not kidding, that jacket had to be from probably 1980 something. He was there for 30 something years. So yeah, that was kind of the attitude there too. So I didn't have it, I wasn't at the top of the totem pole there either.
Yeah. Did you have a nice like weight room at least?
We did.
Yeah. Our weight room was probably the size of my hotel room, honestly, and it was shared for the whole university. So it was like we most of the time were lifting in the gym because it was too crowded in there. That was sick.
No, I mean, they have it better now than I did, but
Yeah.
I had it a lot better than you did. But I will say
Yeah.
they also, they were famous for, I never had to do it, but like it stopped shortly before I got there was, they would practice in the parking lot because they got turf by the time I was there. But
Hmm.
before that, if it rained or whatever, my Coach Hill was like, fucking parking lot. So they'd be playing full blown in the
Yeah.
parking lot and chasing, gappers in through the parking
That's
lot.
just never
Just no
ending.
fences.
It just keeps going.
They're still going.
It's a 1,500-foot home run here.
Yep. Everybody would talk about that. So yeah, there's some
That's
grinding
hilarious.
going on there too. But
That's hilarious.
I'll give you that, Josh.
One thing I'm really jealous of is the Webster University mascot, the Gorlock. Can you name the three animals that comprise the Gorlock?
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, we got the horns of a buffalo, we got the face of a Saint Bernard dog, and the body of a cheetah.
Yep.
So those three animals. You wouldn't know it by looking at it that it was those three animals, but yeah, that's what they told us.
What was your impression of the Gorlock? Did you enjoy having him as your mascot?
Gorlock.
Honestly, so funny story. I was in high school, and we would play. So Webster's home stadium is an independent league stadium, Gateway Grizzlies, and that was Webster's home field. So we were kind of spoiled in that sense, where we had a nice turf field, everything like that. But in high school, my high school would play our rival high school at that field every year, and I remember being there. This was my senior year. This was going into my senior year, I guess junior year. I remember seeing this before Webster even recruited me. I remember seeing, Webster University, home of the Gorlocks, on like in left field. It's on a wall, and I was like, I am never going to a school called the Gorlocks. What is that? Like, there's no way that's real. And yeah, year later, I'm there. So pretty funny, but it's actually not that bad of a look. Like, it's not that bad looking of a mascot. It's okay. The color scheme kind of makes it play up a little bit. Yeah.
It sounds like something out of South Park. It's like Man Bear Pig.
Yeah, dude. I mean, seriously, you got the Gorlock, you got Man Bear Pig. They're both the same. They're both the same.
I mean, I don't have anything better. The Salisbury University Seagulls we didn't really intimidate our opponents when it's like, oh, we got Sammy the Seagull is gonna viciously steal your French fries.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not that. It's better than, you're right. It's better than I thought it would be. But the Gorlock, what a name, Gorlock.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, quite the name.
Nice. To be one of just 5 active MLB players, like to have played in D3, like how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's kind of an honor. Like, it's really cool, and I've had a lot of questions, ever since just even drafted, not even debuting, but it's like, guys kind of a similar background, like, what do I have to do to be like you and stuff? It's like, you don't have to be like me, just be you. You don't have to go D1 to get drafted or to go to the next level and play professional ball. You can go wherever you want, wherever is the best fit for you, and just be yourself and ball out, really. And that's kind of how it ended up working for me. That I preach that all the time. It doesn't matter where you go. Like, if you're good enough, you will be found. And it's not all about the title of, oh, I'm D1. It's about where you're comfortable going and where you're gonna play. Because there's tons of people I know that have gone D1 to say they've gone D1, but they just sit there and they don't play. So you just got to go somewhere where you're gonna play, place that's a good fit for you.
What was kind of your story of how the Rays found you? They took you 5th round in 2017, but like, is D3 scouting something that baseball teams do a lot of?
So my head coach, he had a number of contacts, guys that were scouts, just like area scouts for different teams. And this was going into my junior year. I mean, I was at that time I was probably 91, 94. And I remember our first winter So we played indoors just because it was always cold in the winter when we had our live innings and stuff like that, bullpens. And our first live after Christmas break, there were like 5 scouts that were there that my coach just knew the area scouts. He was like, hey, just come check them out. And then the next outing, it turned into 10, and then there was 15, and then there was 20. And then once we started playing games, it seemed like there was a scout from every team. So I guess just word got out. They all talked to each other, I'm sure. So it just happened. It happened really fast, honestly. I remember just seeing the few scouts the first time, and I was like, okay, like that's not too bad. Like I wasn't nervous or anything, but then it's like flash forward a month and we're playing in games down in Florida for our spring break trip, and it's just the whole bleachers. It's all radar guns and scouts and stuff, and I'm just like, holy cow! Like it was kind of insane.
Is that a far cry from the undersized kid that, could barely latch onto a school, and a couple years later, it's like, there's 70 radar guns pointed at me?
Yeah, it was just nuts, man. I remember getting there and I'm warming up and I'm seeing all these scouts around, like huddled around me, essentially watching me just warm up. And I'm like, golly, like this is insane. Like if you would have told me that, in high school that this was going to be happening in a few years, I would have said, you're lying. You are lying through your teeth. I don't believe you. And yeah, it all happened so fast.
What kind of work did you have to do to get to that point where, where the scouts were coming to look at you? Like what did you have to do when off the field and to get ready to get to that point?
So, like I mentioned earlier, freshman year, I hit 90 and my coach kind of pulled me aside and said, you could do this. After my freshman year ended, I was still, so I had grown to 6'2", but I was still 160 pounds. So like I was still scrawny as can be, with no type of muscle, no weight. Like you put, 135 pounds on a bar, like to bench it, I probably couldn't even lift it off the thing at the time. Like that's how weak I was. So I got together with our strength and conditioning coach. He kind of put together a program for me. I changed my eating habits. I still kind of am picky, but if you think I'm picky now, like back then I wouldn't eat chicken. I wouldn't eat beef. Like I was like that. And so I changed my eating habits. My mom helped me. She's a dietitian. Yeah, I just started eating all the chickens, the meats. Actually hit the weight room.
What did you eat? You didn't eat chicken. What
Dude, so I'm telling you, my main source of protein growing up, like, was peanut butter. Like, and it's mainly because, like, when I was young, listen, I ate everything when I was young. Like, I ate, you name it, I would eat it. And I got a really bad, like, stomach flu, I guess. This is what I was told. I got a really bad stomach flu when I was probably like 5 or 6. And right when I was done, like, I couldn't eat chicken or pork or anything. Like, anytime I put it in my mouth, I'd like gag myself, because it was like, I guess that reaction of knowing I was eating something, I was going to throw it up when I was sick. Like, it just made me not want to eat anything. And so like peanut butter was my source of protein. And yeah, how I just lived on peanut butter as a protein is beyond me. But yeah, I started eating chicken again and going into my sophomore year, and put on probably 35 pounds just that summer alone from actually eating and working out and like being a normal person and not starving, essentially. So yeah, that helped me obviously with endurance and all that stuff. When I put on 30 pounds, I started throwing even harder and actually could throw that hard for 6-7 innings.
Teach me your ways.
Hey, I'm telling you, like, a secret to like the weight gain too. I would have a bowl of cereal every night, and apparently that's like really good.
Milk
going to sleep. It helps you, like, the weight stays or something. I don't know. It's what my mom told me. She said, just you have a bowl of cereal every night, and like it'll help with the weight gain. And I was like, all right. And yeah,
it's funny because with JA is a big chicken tenders guy, but I feel like people who are picky eaters, like chicken is on that list of like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, no.
that's what they eat is like chicken. So you're like, I didn't eat chicken. I'm like,
I
what?
didn't, dude, I wouldn't sniff it. Like, I'm telling you, we'd go out to dinner at a restaurant and I would order French fries. Like, and that was my dinner. I would order French
Hell
fries.
yes.
Like, dude, it was bad. It was
Yep,
so
man.
bad.
We would have gotten along
And
great.
here you are.
Dude, that's what, hey, we had a great time, man.
Just you and I, just not eating anything.
Dude, that's right. Like, I would, like, even like for some reason, like eggs, I just wouldn't eat eggs and they're flavorless. There's nothing to them. It was, I was messed up. Man, that was tough.
So what, back to the radar gun stuff about seeing all the scouts. I can't imagine. I remember my senior year Rutgers, University of Hartford came to play us, and a guy named Sean Newcomb was pitched for them, who was the first rounder that year. He just was Braves for a while, Cubs. And my other good buddy who got drafted by the Reds around the round after me, pitched for them too as well, Brian Hunter. So there was a bunch. Newcomb was starting that game, and same thing. There's like 60 scouts. Just like if I'm sitting there like, dude, if I was warming up, I would like, and they're you know, they're not, the fence where he's warming up is like they're hanging over the fence. I would have killed, like I would have drilled somebody, but you know, I'd have been so scared to let one eat and just, I don't know how you guys do that.
It was just like they would just line up on the side, and it's like they're 2 feet from me. They could poke me, and like they're talking to me while I'm throwing. I'm like, is this normal? Like, no way, this is normal. And it's like you see, like, I mean, I see I'm coming set. Like, say I was out of the stretch or something, I'm coming set. Then all of a sudden, I just see 60 guns just wham. Like it was kind of intimidating at first, and then you kind of get used to it after a while. But like, it was just nuts. It was just insane.
Yeah, and then the last thing about college, then we'll take it kind of to the pro stuff. Would you say the putting on weight and just kind of growing was the biggest difference for you in terms of, you know, the velocity and what helped you be better, or was it other work that you were doing, throwing work or whatever else it was?
I would say the weight was a big part of it. I just at 160 pounds, like keeping just 90 miles an hour, throwing it multiple times was tough. And so once I got on the weight and everything, like it just seemed like it was a lot easier. I didn't have to try and like really give all of my effort to try and throw 90. Like it just kind of came with the mechanics and just being stronger. So I definitely credit the weight to being, I would say, probably the biggest part of that. You know, I always had like the pitching mechanics. I had gone to pitching lessons since I was like 10 years old, all the way through high school. So it was like I had the mechanics and everything. But it was just kind of a matter of putting on the weight and using that strength to let those mechanics really help me.
Yeah, that's I mean, it definitely makes a difference. It makes sense, but we'll fast forward kind of to when we met. So you go through the minors. What were you? Were you in double A? Did you even go to triple A the year before that, 2019?
Yeah, I was like there for like the last month and a half.
Okay.
I got up there. Yeah.
So fast forward, we go to spring training with the Rays, big league camp.
Yep.
You're non-roster, right? Non-roster invitee.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Was that your first big league camp?
It was.
What a first big league camp.
Hey.
That was.
Wow. I was just like, man, this is not how I envisioned this going. Like, I couldn't believe what was happening before our eyes, man. It was nuts.
That was crazy times. But so we're there, everything's normal, and then everything was not normal. It was the opposite of normal, as everybody knows. So it gets shut down. But we get back to it, and we go to the infamous, on the Breaking Bats pod, Rays alternate training site in Port Charlotte to start the season. And
dude, that was a big league team in itself, man. You can't convince me otherwise. That was a big league team there.
It's well documented on here. The guys, we've had some of them on the podcast, and you know the other guys who were there too, who were good big leaguers now. But what's like when you think of the alternate site? What's the first thing that comes to your mind
Dude, I just think of all the shit talking that was happening. Honestly, like it was. I mean, from the very beginning, hitters are talking to us. We're talking to hitters. It's like we strike one of you out, and we're we're mother effing you across the field. Like it was just. I had so much fun at the alt site because of all that. And like obviously like the staff was great. We had Brady there and MJ and those guys. Like they made it fun because they encouraged it. They wanted that fire. They wanted us to be, going at each other. Because that's just that environment just is it's awesome. There's no better environment than that. And so yeah, man, all the talking back, like obviously Dylan Cousins, you remember Dylan?
there?
He loved it. Like he just that dude lived for it. And so man, what a time. Just that's probably the first thing I think of when I think of the alt site, aside from obviously the dudes we had there.
Grinding through those mornings in Port Charlotte to get back to our houses and drop into Verdansk.
Every night.
See what was happening the rest of the day.
It was clockwork.
Oh,
it was
God.
clockwork, man.
The best. Yeah, or you guys would go golfing after. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
Dude, we had a good setup though.
There's some
like
good golfers there, I know.
that Riverwoods course was, it's $120 course normally, and because of COVID, they were like, "Yeah, come in. You guys can play for $30 at 3:00." Like and we had 10 guys on the tee box at a time. They didn't care. Like it was a good time. It was such a good time.
I'm trying to think, because obviously, you throw a very good sinker, but I think I faced you in a live normal spring training before COVID. And I think I don't think it was a sinker. I think you threw me a changeup left on left.
Yep,
and I about fell over. And I remember talking after, and I was like, dude, you need to like do that, because I'm not thinking that's coming at all if I'm facing a lefty. And my buddy Seth Varner was a pitcher for the Reds in the minor leagues. Love Seth. Talked to him the other week. Didn't have like the best pure stuff or like velocity. Could just pitch and move it. So I told him that when we were in like high A, dude. He started. I swear he stuck to it, and it was. I would laugh. He had guys falling over left on left changeups, and
dude, and it's crazy that like that kind of pitch does that to hitters. Right on right, same thing, and it's like the last thing hitters expect, which is it's kind of crazy to me. And I've actually been throwing it a lot this year, and it's been pretty effective. It's actually it is pretty funny
because you throw the good sinker too, so it's like guys are expecting that similar movement, but then the velocity change just makes it really hard. But as a lefty, you're assuming it's going to go away from you if it's not, if it's spinning,
if it's soft,
not. Exactly. So, but then I remember MJ giving the little speech when they were calling you up.
Yeah.
So I'll let Justin take this after this, but tell me what you remember about the speech and getting called up there.
Yeah. So, I remember just a couple days before that, Yanni Chirinos got hurt in a game, got taken out and stuff. And I wasn't really sure, like, of all the starters that were at the alt site, you had like me, McClanahan, Boz, Joe Ryan, and a number of other like relievers and stuff. And I was like, man, if they need a starter, like I'm supposed to start, in a few days, like that's his start day. I might, it could be me. I don't know. I didn't think anything of it really. Like I didn't think in depth about it. And MJ had called me in his office, and he was like, hey, like there's been an injury. We don't know anything yet, but just be ready. It could be you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then fast forward to the day I did get called up. I remember sitting there, and this was like, I forget what hurricane it was, but there was a hurricane that was kind of like on its way, right? I think what I remember, there was a hurricane coming, and like head clubby down there, Tim, sits us all down. He's like, hey, like, we have this, maybe it was a tropical storm. I don't know. It's always raining down there. So he was like, hey, just so you know, like, this is coming. If you guys are in Inglewood and you need to come more inland, like, we can set up hotels for
Oh
you and
yeah.
everything. And I was just like, okay, like, yeah, for sure. Like, and then, like, I think guys started to kind of sit up, and then MJ was like, I got one more thing. And he kind of brought up how kind of my minor league, like, steps that I took to get there and stuff. And he was like, I remember we had this one kid, little scrawny lefty, came in, went to extended spring training, his first spring training for a month, went to low A for 2, high A for 2 months, broke in double A last year, finished at triple A. And he's like, and on Saturday, he's going to start for the big leagues. And I was just like, holy cow, like, it just all, kind of like the scouts. And when I started getting noticed at Webster, just, it happened so fast. And then I remember just guys going crazy and jumping and everything. Like, it was just nuts. I still get the chills telling that story. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It was just,
it was great.
Man, what a
It's
time.
always,
I was speechless too. Like, they're like, do you have anything to say? I'm like, what I don't know.
it's
crazy.
always cool to see, like, the way MJ did it in front of everybody, like, to see a guy get called up for the first time, like, realize that dream. It's always really cool I have the chills thinking back on it right now. That's awesome.
Dude, it was insane. It was, man, oh man.
With everything leading up to your debut and probably all the nerves and emotions that you're feeling, when you first got out on the bump, how were you able to channel all of that first batter, first strikeout?
Dude, honestly, like, I got there. I remember pulling up to the Trop, and I'm like, I'm nervous as can be. Like, I'm in a polo. Like, I feel like I'm dressed as a 10. And, like, guys are kind of looking at me like, why are you dressed up? I'm like, what? Like, isn't this like a normal thing? But the first person to actually come up to me was Kevin Kiermaier. And obviously, probably one of the most, the most well-known besides Longoria, well-known Ray, veteran guy, longest tenured Ray in history. First person to come up to me and, he dapped me up, gave me a hug, was like, say, hey man, like, been hearing a lot about you. Like, just wanted to let you know we got your back out there. Go out there, just do your thing, and don't even, like, think about the outcomes. And I was like, I just kind of sat down for a minute and I was like, whoa, like that's our leader, a leader who I'd barely talked to in the big league spring training, months before. And he was the first one to meet me and tell me that. And I was just like, man, like, that was one of the coolest things. And that really kickstarted me just kind of chilling and being calm. Like, by the time I got out there and I was warming up, like, as crazy as it sounds, like, it just felt like I was at the alt site warming up for a game against our guys. I was super calm, super chill. And it helped that there were no fans. Obviously, there was no fans in sight besides the cardboard cutouts and whatnot. So that definitely, I would say, the COVID kind of helped ease that a little bit with no fans. But just honestly, the minute I took the mound, I just felt relaxed and calm. Like, like I said, like I was at the alt site just having fun.
That's incredible. I also saw that John Curtis picked up his first save that day. What was the post-game celebration in the locker room like?
Yeah, so they stripped me down to my sliders, got into a laundry crate thing. They wheeled me into the bathroom or into the showers, just to, like, kind of get me ready for it. They showered me with cold water just to kind of like, hey, like, you're gonna get a lot more stuff coming at you. And man, I just remember I was wearing a mask because we had to, and I just remember baby powder, ketchup, mustard, soda, beer, water, milk. Like, I'm inhaling all of those fumes, and it was cold as can be. Like, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that just happened. And it felt like 10 minutes, and it was probably like 10 seconds. But yeah, I just got doused in any liquid you could even think of. Shaving cream and gel was, I think, poured on me, like mouthwash. It was any liquid that was found around the clubhouse was used in the shower. So yeah, got drenched. Me and Curtis both got drenched.
The best. Dude,
Is that
that's
normal?
Yeah, that is.
yeah.
That's what they do, and I've been a part of a number of those since then, and they are a lot of fun. I try and I grab chocolate milk and like orange juice. I think that's kind of my combo, and I get there and I'm just yeah,
Dude,
it's fun. It's a lot of
it's
fun.
great. They my first hit was they didn't get it was me and Aquino. They didn't get Aquino for his first hit or homer, so it was me and him. And I don't remember who said it to me, but they were like right before they were saying they're like, take a deep breath and hold it. And because you're the baby powder, like, yeah, you can't, but like you said, it's so cold that it like
Yeah.
you want to because
Yes.
everything's so cold at once. So I fucked up. I was literally like,
Yeah,
and
dude.
you're like, oh, dude, it's miserable. And then yeah, trying to get everything out of your hair and stuff
Oh,
afterwards in the shower for like an hour.
yeah,
But
dude.
it's
I
the
think I
best.
shampooed like 5 times. I probably washed my body another 10. Like I was every little nook and cranny I was getting in because man, you never know. Like you could miss some and the next day you wake up and you find like you got baby powder in your butt still. And you're like, what? Like, where did that come from? Oh yeah, I just got doused in it for 30 seconds.
Oh, the best. Love it.
That's
You
Yeah.
had
incredible.
your hair's a little bit shorter than it was too. You had some serious hair going on back then too. So it's a lot. That was a
Dude, well,
lot to
you
cover.
should have seen it this year, man. I got it cut like 2 months ago. And I mean, I'm telling you, it was down to here. Like it was bad. I don't know what I was thinking. It was tough.
So 2020, like what's like your favorite as the season got going, favorite on the field memory and favorite off the field memory from that year?
Hmm. I mean, on the field, I feel like it's got to be debut. Like that was one of the coolest things. I got to see my parents and my wife, well, fiance at the time. They had booked a last minute flight, um, literally the night before. Flew down, and then like 3 of my best friends drove from St. Louis the 16 hours to get there that night through the night just to watch at a bar across the street. Like obviously they couldn't go into the game. Um, so seeing them afterwards was something special. My mom was crying. Obviously, my dad was probably in tears a little bit. My fiance was wife at the time. Fiance was in some tears, and so were my friends. Like it was really emotional, and just really really cool. So that was probably like I would say the greatest off. Well, I guess that's technically that's the off the field moment. Um, on field debut, and then man, the World Series that was something crazy. Like being a rookie and actually getting selected to be on the roster for the World Series and getting to pitch in the World Series was still to this day, like I look back at, I'm like, dang, that is like one of the coolest things like ever. Like I couldn't have even pictured that. Like even after the debut, like if you would have said, hey, you're gonna pitch in the World Series, I'd have been like, what? In the same year? Like that was probably the coolest on field.
When did you first meet Pete Fairbanks?
I met him in 2019. Um, so I knew of him at the time. He got traded over um, in like July or something. And I knew of him. We had the same agent, same agency, same agent from the same area. And I say area because when the first day I met him, first thing he says to me, like, nah, doesn't even introduce himself. He just goes, oh, you're the kid that thinks he's from St. Louis, huh? And I was like, oh, geez. Because I grew up in Southern Illinois, like 15 minutes from the city. So I'd always just considered St. Louis as home. I'd always said, from St. Louis. And that was first meeting I had with him. And I was just like, man, that's how it's going to be with this guy, huh? And he still gives me crap to this day. Like he'll always bring it up. But I finally got my Missouri license so I can show him. I'll be like, yeah, that's what's up. What's up, St. Louis now?
Oh my god.
But so that was when I first met him. And then obviously spring training, talked to him a good amount. And honestly, through him, that's how I got to know a lot of the guys that were already up in the bigs, like Yarborough and Belau, and just pretty much everybody I met through Pete because Pete was talking to him and he would have me come sit by him and stuff like that. So
That's great. Brian, what was your introduction to Pete like?
I could just picture Pete saying that to you so perfectly. Oh, you're the guy
Dude,
that thinks he's from St. Louis.
I was just like,
That's so
that's
funny.
really how
Pete,
that's how we're gonna start things, huh?
Yep. Pete, my introduction to Pete was spring training. We were in the weight room, and the Rays have like a cool setup with the weight room. It's like disconnect, like every other team I've been on, or the two other teams I've been on, the two other teams I've been on, it's connected to like the building, but the Rays is, you walk outside and it's like its own kind of building over there. So it was brand new that year too. So it's cool. And I was in there getting after it, and I had the aux cord, and I put on some like early 2000s like punk emo stuff to lift to, and I forget what song it was. I can't remember, but all this Pete was in there like doing his thing too, and he just like started loved it. Whatever song it was like singing it. Was like, you put this on, and then like that was it. It was over. Me and Pete were boys like from right then. So
that's arguably the
Pete.
greatest like genre to listen to when you're in the weight room too, by the way.
I agree. That was so yeah. That's how me and Pete got tight. We're like, yep, this is gonna work.
That's hilarious.
It's funny. I've bonded with pitchers. I feel like I've bonded with pitchers like faster in my career than I do position players for some reason. I find pitchers
because we're awesome, man. Pitchers are people too.
Pitchers just need to hang out with an athlete. I think it is. So they just want to hang out.
Brian, you and I both know I'm a freak athlete.
Yep. Sure, Josh. Whatever you say, man.
What do you think about this incredible run that Pete's been on this year?
Dude, I mean, it's not surprising, honestly. Like the last 2 years since COVID year, we've trained together and stuff. So it's honestly not surprising at all. Seeing the stuff he's been able to do and whatnot. It's unfortunate that he was hurt for the first half of the season, because then it would really be like he'd really be established as one of like the premier closers, I would say, in the game of baseball if he had been healthy the whole year. So, yeah, like I said, not surprising. I mean, playing catch with him inside for the last 2 years, I could definitely see why he's as good as he is, because he's nasty. I don't understand how hitters can even hit stuff like that. Brian, like, hats off to you, man. Like, I had my 1 AB last year against Max Fried, and he struck me out, and I was just like, yep, this is hard. So, yeah, crazy.
Two things there. I have a double off Pete in my live career against him. Never in game, but with the Rays. Yep, the first pitch fastball
counts.
Was ready.
Counts.
Was ready for it. So
yep, take that to Trace, baby. Take that.
Yep,
to Trace.
Absolutely. And number two to that was J.A. You got to see. I don't know how you guys do it. Pitchers playing catch with each other is one of the more amazing things you'll ever see. Because if I was playing catch with them, the balls would just be like hitting me in the chest and like ankle. These dudes are out there throwing like full blown pitches to each other from 50 feet away, like winging it. It looks miserable. I see it every day. I'm like, I don't know why these guys
dude, it's
do this
terrifying. Try playing catch with Pete inside when I already have vision problems. I wear glasses when I pitch, so it's like impossible to see. And he hits me with the, hey, I'm going to try a change up here. And I'm like, oh, gosh, please, no. We're 60 feet. He's throwing 100 miles an hour. I'm like, oh, gosh, please just hit me in the glove. Like, it's terrifying. It really is.
Oh, my God. That's great.
The triple digits is insane, but my favorite part about him is whenever he like strikes somebody out and does like the walk back stare thing where he's like bobbing his head. That's hilarious.
He's grooving when he's got that, like, he's got a power walk, chest puff. Like, He looks like if you like got in his way, he would probably punch you in the face. It didn't matter. Like, it could be his grandma and he's like knocking her out of the way. Like, get out of my face. Like, seriously, he's always got that look in his eye. Like, especially like you said, when he's vibing right now, like you just don't want to get in his way because he will push you over probably.
Who do you think is more intimidating on the mound, him or Max Scherzer?
Wow. Both Mizzou guys.
Yeah.
Both Mizzou guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's got to be Mad Max. He's nicknamed that for a reason, right? It's got to be. Even though Pete, that's close. I gotta go with Max though.
Yeah.
Max has been doing it for 12 years, whatever it is, and I mean, he's scary. He's
He would do
scary.
the stalk behind the mound. He would just be walking in a circle.
Dude,
This guy's
that guy.
different.
Yeah, he's just built different. I mean, you see the intensity he has. Like I've seen videos of him in his bullpens, and he's got that same intensity. It's like, man, there's no question why he's as great as he is.
And Brian faced him, so Brian could probably back that up.
Probably wasn't enjoyable, huh?
It was. It actually went good. I hit a nice one hopper at the second baseman. I hit it hard, but
nice.
Yeah, I was pinch hit, and I was like, all right, man, first pitch fastball, like fucking going for it, whatever, like let's do it. First pitch fastball, and I stared at it. but it was funny because I stepped out and I was like, oh fuck, like I was right down the middle, like what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then after, it was a pretty good at bat, but after, I'm looking at the iPad, that thing started down the middle and ended up, dotted, like knees black away, like it just. So I was like, oh well, makes more sense why my
great take.
My eyes and
great
brain
take.
were like, don't swing at it. But yeah, when I stepped out, and literally I was like, fuck, that was right there.
That was the one.
Yeah, dude, like pinch hitting rule number one is like, if he throws a first pitch fastball down, like you should swing at it. You want to swing at it. So in my head, I'm like, take it, and it's fucking Max Scherzer, and I'm like, oh shit, can't be taking that one.
Speaking of Max, so like you remember Lamar, right, at the alt site?
Oh yeah.
He was telling me a story because he trained at Cressy during that quarantine there in like, what is it, Fort Lauderdale, Jupiter area. And Scherzer was there, and he said one of the funniest like moments, but like kind of like a whoa moment for him. He was saying how he was facing Scherzer live, and he threw him a 3-2 changeup that he swung and missed. And like Lamar said, he was like, "Throw a fastball, pussy." And Scherzer goes, "You want a fastball? Go to the fucking batting cages." And he just stood there's like, whoa, like, yeah. Like, that's one of the greatest stories I've heard about Scherzer. Like, that's so funny.
Love it.
Well, we had Will Crow on when he was with the Nationals. I was like, what's your go-to Max Scherzer story? He's like, rookie spring training, me and another rookie were sitting on the bench, and the guy next to him, Max, was walking in. He says, "Hey, Max, good luck out there." And Max snapped around really quick, says, "I don't need fucking luck." And then he just walked away.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I would ever talk to him again after that. I'd be intimidated. I'd be so scared. That's so funny.
Oh, that's just when I wouldn't talk ever again. I would just be like, all right, I'm the quiet guy.
Tail between my legs. I'm walking away. I'm never even walking in the direction of him.
Love that.
I fucking love Max Scherzer. Couple more questions for you. The 2022 Rays, as we get close to playoff time, like, what makes the 2022 Rays great? Like, what can you say in favor of them making a good run here?
I mean, like the last few years, the bullpen and pitching staff has been unbelievable. They're top 5 in probably every category if I had to guess. But the pitching staff has been just incredible, lights out. You got obviously veteran and Corey Kluber coming in, and that dude is he's a freak, man. Just watching him, how he handles himself, like he is the Klubot. He is a legit robot, like, and there's no question to his greatness. But McClanahan, obviously, seeing what he's been doing this year has been absolutely crazy. And before he got hurt, and even now, like he's going to be top 3 Cy Young candidate. He was obviously the front runner to win it going into the All-Star break. But McClanahan's been unbelievable. Rasmussen's been unbelievable. Jeffrey Springs, I mean, my goodness, everyone probably was like, who's this guy? After he started starting games for us. And, I mean, he's got I think I saw it the other night, he's got like the 4th lowest ERA in the AL. And that's only going down. And then obviously you've had like I've started games, Yarbs has started games, Patino's started games, a lot of bullpen days. So honestly, like to me, and maybe it's biased, but like I think it starts with the pitching staff with what they're able to do, limit really good teams to not a lot of runs to let our bats kind of go to work. Yeah, it's been pretty special. Even after losing, we traded, Snell before last season, and we were 2 games from the World Series. People were probably like, what are they doing? And we ended up winning 100 games. There's a method to the madness. And even this year with all the injuries we've had with Wander going out, Zanino's down for the year, Kiermaier's down for the year. For them to bring in guys from other teams, whether it's through trades, through claiming off of waivers, guys just been able to get it done. And that's kind of the story I think of the Rays this year is we're just getting it done, one game at a time. We're not looking to the future. You're taking it one day at a time, one game at a time, and just going from there.
I love that. Yeah, I'm really excited to watch them this postseason. It's going to be great. I just had a couple quick rapid fire questions for you to kind of wrap up here. As a St. Louis area guy, like who were your sports heroes growing up?
Albert Pujols was my hero growing up. I was very fortunate. I got to meet him last year. We were out in LA, and I was actually going to pitch against him the day he got released, which actually sucked. But I met him the day before, which was one of the cooler things I would say in my entire life. Because one of their clubbies was with us last year or 2 years ago, and kind of set up a meeting. And so I met him on the field, talked to him for probably 10 minutes, got a picture with him. And like, for that was good enough for me. I was like, that's insane. I just met my hero. And 30 minutes before game time, he sends over a game used bat that's personalized to me, has all of his accolades on it and a baseball. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't ask for these. Like I didn't even want them, honestly. I didn't think about it at the time. And he sent those over. And so that was probably the coolest sports moment I think I've ever had. Meeting Albert Pujols, who was my childhood hero.
I love that. Do you have like all that stuff displayed in your house somewhere?
I do. I have the bat, the ball, and like a shadow box. The picture's framed up. Like I got it down in my man cave, and it's not going anywhere. Like, that thing's staying up. That's like front and center, right when you walk down. And that's what you see. And I'm like, I want people to see that because that's the coolest thing ever for me.
That's awesome. I love that. Any superstitions for you?
I used to be like. It's crazy that I'm not really superstitious anymore. I used to be like okay, I had to put left sock on first, right sock, left cleat, right cleat. And that like, it had to be this way. And if I didn't pull my sock up high enough, I was like, oh, I got to re-put it on to make sure I have like the full stretchiness of it. Like I was a weirdo, but man, this year, it's been a roller coaster year for me, just in just everything. I haven't been throwing well. So it was like, it was either I was trying something different or like just kind of working on like my mental capacity more than so just thinking about a game. So like, I've just kind of thrown away all my superstitions and I just go out there and play now, try and have fun.
Love that. As a glasses wearing pitcher, did you ever try to model your style after anybody?
I remember when I got him in high school. My friends at the time, Joe Kelly was with the Cardinals still. And so everyone was calling me Joe Kelly Jr. and all this stuff. And so that was actually pretty cool. I was like, man, I want to be like Joe Kelly. Like he was one of my favorite guys at the time. And so I guess when I got him, I was modeling my game after him.
I like that. So Tampa Bay right now, like who's the player that spends the most time in front of the mirror?
Oh man. For the Latin group, I would say Yandy Diaz. That's my say. That dude, he sprays himself with all the good smelling stuff. I would say Yandy for that. Yarbs probably won't agree with me, but I got Yarbs. Yarbs is always doing his hair, like once he gets out of the shower and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're gonna go put on a hat sit for 3.5 hours. Like, you don't need to do your hair. So he's always doing his hair. So I'm gonna go with Yarbs for that one.
Is there even a small part of you that misses your long hair? Because I know you cut it recently.
Yeah, I mean, I do a little bit, but like looking back on it, I like look at pictures. I'm like, man, I kind of looked bad. Like that was a tough look. So I'm glad. Like I'm glad I got rid of it when I did. And I'm kind of letting it grow a little bit, but it's not going to get much crazier than what it's at now.
Was the fact that you're in Florida and it's hot, is that factor into your decision?
Um, Not so much actually. I didn't mind the long, like it didn't like change, like it didn't make me feel like any hotter than it really was with the long hair. I just got tired of like waking up and looking at my pillow and like I shed. So it's like I'm seeing hair on my pillow, I'm seeing hair on my clothes, and I'm like, I am tired of this crap. Like, I put a shirt on, I get a face full of hair, and I'm like, gosh dang it. Like, and it's all because of the long hair. So I was like, I need to just stop this. I need to get it all gone. So I can't do that anymore.
You're sleeping with a hairnet, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I thought I should have just did something like that because hair was everywhere. And like my wife's got long hair and obviously she leaves some hair everywhere every once in a while, but it's like I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be doing that. So it was time. It was time to cut it.
I dig it. It looks great now, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Last question for you is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Man, that's a good question. It's a deep question. Oh, wow. Best piece of advice like ever, like
Yeah, it could be
baseball
baseball,
or just
life. Yeah.
life. Man, I would say like just don't take things for granted. Like I mean, it flies by, man. Like life flies by. Everything does. Like I look back at like thinking about college, and that was, I mean, 6 years ago for me. And that I feel like that was a lifetime ago. Or I feel like that was like just yesterday, but it's been 6 years. Like I was talking with my wife. She's got her 10-year high school anniversary coming up, and I was like, geez, it's been 10 years already for that. And it's just nuts to think about how quick life kind of goes by. So yeah, just don't take anything for granted, I would say is probably the best. Just enjoy life, live it to its fullest. um one day at a time. And that, I guess now that's me kind of giving some advice, like just don't be looking forward to things in the future. Just kind of take your life one day at a time and just enjoy it.
Very well said. Josh, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for coming on here and hanging out with us and taking some time
Absolutely.
out of your day, man.
Appreciate you guys having me on here. This was a good
great
time
to catch up, dude, and talk about all
Absolutely.
this stuff and your story, man. Thank you.